Listen, a lot of people did not like this movie, but I think it wrapped up the trilogy perfectly. Let's do it. Maxine takes place in 1985, 6 years after the events of the first movie X. And Maxine Minx, who is the sole survivor of the massacre from the first movie, is still an aspiring actress. So Maxine has been kind of typecast into adult films and she can't get cast into anything else, but we see her auditioning for this movie called The Puritan 2. This happens to be a horror movie, and she absolutely fucking kills the audition, and she makes sure to tell all the other girls. But we see that Maxine still works in the adult entertainment industry, and one of her coworkers one night tells her about this party that's happening in the Hollywood Hills. And another friend of hers, Tabby, tells her about the same party, but Maxine declines to go. We see that the time they're living in is the time that the Night Stalker is running rampant, and they haven't caught him yet. And one night we see Maxine working at a peep show, and we see this mysterious dark figure watching her. And Maxine is walking home alone by herself one night. She is attacked by this man who is dressed as Buster Keaton. And he thinks he has the upper hand until she turns around and pulls a gun on him. She makes him take all of his clothes off and then straight up just steps on his balls with her heel and splits them in half. It's honestly disgusting. That's right after telling him, the last person that tried to kill me, I crushed her fucking head. Well, eventually, we see that the same dark figure that was watching Maxine at the peep show goes to her apartment one night and leaves her a VHS tape. And when she goes to watch it, she sees that it's the porno they made in the first movie, which was in police evidence. So Maxine asks her friend Leon, who works at a video store, if he can find out where it came from and who made it. And in the meantime, we see Tabby and Maxine's other coworker go to that party in the Hollywood Hills that they were talking about, only to be murdered and brandished with a satanic symbol. Their bodies are found and these two detectives are put on the case and they try to ask Maxine about them, but she doesn't want to talk to the police. But then Maxine gets this cryptic letter with her old yearbook picture in it. And this letter tells her to meet somewhere where she discovers that there is this private investigator named John that is looking into her. And he basically is like, I know exactly what happened in the farmhouse in 1979, and if you don't meet with my employer, we are going to reveal it to the public. And when Maxine refuses to do that, John starts to follow her. But he greatly underestimates Maxine because one day she straight up beats his ass. So Maxine has this agent/lawyer named Teddy, and she ends up telling Teddy everything, like all the events that happened from the first movie and how she was there and she's the only survivor. And he's like, don't worry about that because I got some good news. Maxine got the part in The Puritan 2. Maxine is ecstatic. This is her big break and she starts learning her lines and going to set, and she meets her coworker Molly. And Molly starts telling Maxine about these parties in the Hollywood Hills similar to the last two girls. We then very sadly see that Leon, Maxine's best friend, is the next victim of this killer that is running rampant. And it's at this point that Maxine decides that she's going to talk to the police. However, she still has this fucking guy following her everywhere that she goes. So she tells Teddy about it and they come up with a plan. Maxine tricks John into following her and she lures him into this junkyard. And her and Teddy proceed to trap him in a car and crush him to death. But Maxine still has this address that John gave her of his employer. You know, the one that he was like, you have to go meet my employer here or else we're going to tell everybody about the massacre. So Maxine eventually goes to this address and it turns out it's a house in the Hollywood Hills. And when she gets there, Maxine comes face to face with John's employer, who is Maxine's father, Reverend Ernest Miller, which we heard him preaching on TV in the first movie. He's this televangelist. While she's there, Maxine finds Molly's body in a suitcase dismembered. The Reverend reveals to Maxine that he and his followers, so pretty much his cult, have been committing these murders and filming them to create a snuff film. And basically expose Hollywood and people they consider sinners for their corruption. But the Reverend thinks that he can still save his daughter, so he and his followers attempt to perform an exorcism on Maxine and tie her to a tree. But it turns out the two detectives from earlier have been following Maxine, and they are seeing this whole thing. This massive shootout ensues, a bunch of the cult members die. Reverend Miller is injured, but this all allows Maxine enough time to get free from the tree and she makes a run for it. And Reverend Miller, Maxine, and the two detectives run into the Hollywood Hills. Eventually, the two detectives get shot, but Maxine is able to take one of their shotguns and confront her own father. We see that there's a helicopter flying overhead, so this is all over the news. And as Maxine is holding her father at gunpoint, she starts to have these visions of herself and her fame. And then we cut back to reality and Maxine thanks her father for giving her divine intervention and shoots him in the head and he dies. Then cut to some time later and we see Maxine in her trailer getting ready to shoot The Puritan 2. She looks at herself in the mirror and tells herself, "You are a fucking movie star." We cut to the set of the movie and see everybody celebrating Maxine and her success, and the movie ends. So she finally became a star.